What's up, Dronrs? B here, and today we're gonna talk about, DJI because they done got into it again with the U.S. government. And is it really their fault? Did they do something wrong, or is the U.S. government just being weird, or what's going on? I think we should talk about it. So let's just get into it. All right, so first and foremost, I'm gonna give you all the headline. The headline that started this whole entire video is U.S. government adds DJI to Commerce blacklist over ties to the Chinese government. That has a lot inside of it. But before we get into that, I actually wanna just back up and talk to you guys about how crappy of a year it's been for the biggest drone manufacturer in the world, and specifically in the United States. How big, you ask? I know, I heard that. How big, you ask, is that DJI currently has over 77% of the market share, with no other competitor getting over 4%. That is not even close. If we were playing the game Monopoly, then this is the part where you start making up credit cards to give to your friends because they can't even afford to live and pay your rent at Mediterranean. Like, it's serious in these streets. And DJI, you know, like, they have won the drone wars, but now it seems like it's kind of coming back, and they're having some real issues. Now, if we turn the clock back, we're gonna go back to 2017. And 2017 was the first canary in the coal mine for this entire experience, where the US Army grounded all DJI drones, and they just did it. They were just like, hey, we have security concerns with DJI, we're grounding all of these drones until further notice. And everybody was like, huh, that's weird. But we're like, all right, well, cool, we'll hear more about this. And then they ended up finding out that they actually were able to substantiate those claims. And it went so far as that in January of this year, 2020, the Department of the Interior made it so that it was illegal for all departments of the US military or federal governments to buy any DJI drones because of the substantiated security claims. They even passed some legal stuff called the 2020 National Defense Authorization Act that prohibited the government from operating or buying Chinese drones at all. Now, what could possibly be happening that makes it so that the US government is going so hard against DJI? Now, and if you really want to look at this from like a huge macro perspective and say, well, maybe it's because Trump doesn't like China and he's tough on China and all those other kind of things. But I don't actually think that's the case at all here, because a lot of these aren't coming from the White House. These are coming from like the Department of the Interior. This is coming from the CIA. This is coming from the US Army. This is coming from the people that advise the White House. This isn't coming from the White House. The White House is supporting it, of course, but this isn't coming from there. This is coming from a lot of different sources and saying that, you know, DJI is not just a tech company that makes drones. Like, they are also pretty heavily tied in with the Chinese government, to the point where it's believed and heavily rumored that the Chinese government actually funds a lot of the R&D for DJI. And even to take it a step even sadder and much further, is you may or may not know, there actually are some internment or prison camps in China right now, believed to be holding the Muslims that are living in the country because of their religious beliefs. And DJI has been proven to have given drones to the Chinese government to be able to monitor and provide security for these prison camps. Now, obviously, prison camps isn't something that any part of a so-called quote-unquote free country, free democracy, free world, or any type of thing, specifically being like persecuted for religious beliefs, is not something that we should be supporting or believing in. And us supporting and buying the products of a company that is supporting the government that is putting people into things because of that is a problem in itself. But that actually wasn't the biggest issue with what the US government has been having with DJI. Is more so that the drones themselves, the data coming from those drones, has been being sent back to DJI, which has been shared with the Chinese government, that gives the Chinese government much more information about the infrastructure, the build, and the makeup of the United States, and how we hold ourselves secure. Now, why is that a big deal? A couple reasons. Number one, if our own government is using DJI products for classified missions and secret things, and that information is getting back to China, which isn't necessarily our biggest ally in the world at the moment, it's just not a good look. It doesn't help us in any way, shape, or form. And if you were to say, I don't know, plan a cyber attack or even a physical attack on a place, it really does help to know where the key points of infrastructure are that are hidden from Google. And you just so happen to have hundreds of thousands of drones flying around all over this country at the time that you could just tell from their GPS location are in the spots that happen to be blacked out on Google that you can't find anywhere online, but that's okay. Activate the camera on this drone or just review the footage of these drones that were flying in that area, and you might be able to paint yourself a picture of all the spaces that you did need to see that you weren't able to see without physically being there, which, as you can take your mind to an imaginary place of saying, if you were trying to do malicious attacks or trying to bring down a certain democracy or something like that, not saying that that's what their goal or initiative is, but that information allows us so that you are much easier able to do those type of things, which in turn makes the United States more vulnerable of a target, which is the last thing that you should be allowing hobbyist drones flying around be able to do. Now, what happened recently that inspired me to talk about this today is let me bring it all the way back, is what just happened is, if you've ever heard of a company named Huawei, I don't know how to say it exactly, I'm so sorry, but it's a Chinese microchip making company that worked with cell phones, very specifically cell phone technology, could really make these nano chips that were very impressive for the small size of the company. But they were put on ban back in 2019 because of the concerns that they were tied in with the Chinese government. The founder of that company was known to be a part of the Chinese Army Party or something that just isn't good for the United States or something along those lines. Obviously, I'm well read on that. But either way, they had ties back to the government that didn't play well with U.S. technological interests. So in return, the U.S. government said, you are now blacklisted. You're no longer allowed to have any kind of United States technology or intellectual property exports going towards that company in any way, shape, or form, which disrupted their product line and their distribution and really caused a lot of problems that they've had to deal with for the past few months since that got enacted. It's been an issue for them. It's been real. But they only had a small, tiny sliver of the cell phone market. And so, yeah, it did mess up this little company and they don't learn their lesson. But DJI, on the other hand, like I said earlier, 77% of the market share. That ain't something to cough at. They got money. Like money. And that money is not making that like, yeah, you can't take any of our tech anymore. Like, well, that's cool because our R&D department's bigger than any of the R&D departments, or let's say all the R&D departments combined of all the other competitors that we have. And our supply and manufacturing chain is so secure that, yeah, we might see some minor disruptions, but DJI has already put out a claim that we're not gonna see any issues in being able to buy DJI drones in response to this. Of course, they condemned it and said that this is bad, but what they really said is like, yo, y'all ain't gotta worry. If you bought something, it's still gonna work. If you wanna buy something, you're still gonna be able to buy it. Now, not everybody's buying that, and some people are even going as far as saying that companies like Skydio are gonna move at light speed to be able to try to fill in that market void when DJI's supply chain gets disrupted. I think that is the most optimistic thing that I've read in quite some time, and yeah, I'm talking about in 2020. 77%. Like, where's Skydio? Under 4. Like, even if they wanted to take on even 10% of what DJI is doing, I don't think they have the manufacturing capability to do it. And it's not because of the lack of how they run their company or whatever that they're doing. It's more so that it's just like, they're just so big. Like, to the point where a quick side thing is like, one time I had an Amazon package that just never got picked up. They just never delivered it. Nothing ever happened. And I got mad. I called Amazon. I was like, how come y'all never gave me a this got delivered notification? How come you guys never told me that it was never gonna come? You guys never said anything to me. Like, y'all just didn't do it. Like, I paid you for something, you straight up just didn't do it, didn't notify me, literally nothing happened. And their response to me was, when I called their customer service, I could almost hear the person on the other line smirking, saying, well, here's what we're gonna do for you. Sorry about that, we're gonna cancel your order. We're not gonna be able to fulfill that. So you don't get what you thought you were gonna get. But we'll give you an extra month of Amazon Prime for free. I'm like, wait. So because y'all messed up, y'all gonna give me the opportunity to continue to be a customer with you for a little bit longer? That's the repercussions you have? And it's like, yes, that is, sir. That's all I can offer you. And you know why? It's because they don't have a competitor. And so DJI is getting attacked by the US government right now because DJI has been not paying attention to what the US government's been telling them about what they were doing that is directly in contract and directly in conflict with what we believe is right and what we believe should be happening and the rules that everybody else has to follow. And they're kind of just saying like, well, we don't have to because what else you gonna do? So it's a really interesting situation because it makes me wonder like, all right, well, is there gonna be any kind of supply chain disruption? Is there going to be any issues for us on this user end? And even if there is, even if they decide tomorrow to say, hey, US government tells us we're gonna buy back all the DJI drones in the United States from all the drone pilots. You guys are not allowed to use those anymore. They're gonna be illegal within a month. What do we do next? What drone do I buy to replace the Inspire 2 with the Next 7? You know, it's like, what is it? Like the Alta FreeFly? Like the FreeFly systems? They put out some drones, but are they gonna be able to replace the tens of thousands of Inspire 2s that are already out there? Are they gonna be able to replace these Mavics? Like, are we all gonna be able to get the Autel 6K drone? It's like, the answer is, in short, is no. There's just not enough drones to be able to replace all these DJI drones, and there's an entire market and people's livelihoods that are sustained by this now because we've gone so far down this road without any real action against what's going on that now I'm just like, I don't know what power the US government really has to slow down or stop DJI outside of upsetting people like me because I'm like, well, I'm kind of sort of dependent on this now. And I'm really curious about that. I'm curious to know what you guys think as well. And if you guys do not recall, back in the day, I actually made a video about it, of the pettiness of the US government recently. Is that they told DJI that we're no longer gonna be buying any of your drones. But they gave DJI a glimmer of hope and said, hey, but if you make a drone that has all these specifications that we're asking for, that we know for a fact will not be transmitting anything back and just is gonna fly, everything stays local to that drone, it stays local to what we need it to do, then maybe we'll have our US government start buying drones again, because obviously that's a massive contract. And DJI was like, no problem, got you. R&D department, make it happen. Made it happen. Took it to US government. US government, all the independent testers said, you know what? Not only does this do what they said it would do, it actually exceeds what you guys are asking for. This is a great bird for what the job is you guys want. And the US government's response was like, all right, thank you so much for doing that, but no thank you. We're not gonna buy any of these drones. And that is pretty much this entire story in a nutshell. It's kind of how it's looking. It's like DJI is just looking back like, oh, remember when you said that you ain't gonna buy our drones? Cool, cool, cool. Go ahead and buy somebody else's. Hold my rotor again. I'll wait. Just do it. All right, Droners, I want you guys to keep your ears like we will be doing to the skies, haha, see what I did there? To be able to listen and understand what's gonna be happening next and how this may be affecting you, me, and the entire industry. Please let me know your thoughts below because I'm here for this conversation because this isn't just me reporting something. This is a conversation starter that is a conversation that has to happen. So please do that below. If you do like these kind of conversations and like what I like to do, AKA make videos for you, go ahead and subscribe, like, follow, do all the things to show your love and support. But most of all, always make sure you stay fly.